Is Hillary Clinton fit to be president? I don't mean in her mental state, in her abilities, in her capabilities. I'm talking about, is she physically fit to be president? Another headline at the Drudge Report based on photographs taken by Reuters and Getty Images. Hillary Clinton having trouble walking up the stairs. This follows the coughing fits. We've all seen the coughing fits Hillary's been involved in before, right?
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me, just 1 second here. A lozenge.
Before that, she's fallen at home. She's broken her elbow. She's not that old of a woman, but there are questions about whether her health is starting to fail. Ray Hurd joins me now to discuss this. Ray, this is something that, in my experience, is particular to Americans, is that presidential candidates often will go and have physicals and release the results before people vote. Hillary Clinton, there's a lot of questions about her health, Ray, but no real physical results out there yet. No bill of clean health from doctors.
No, but I think the important thing to realize, Brian, is that Hillary Clinton, if she wins, and that is likely now, will be the second oldest elected president, 1 month younger than Ronald Reagan was when he won, when he was in late 69, age 69. Hillary will be close to that. And actually, Trump will be the oldest, but I don't think there's any doubt that he's physically fit. Hillary, I've been saying this on Twitter for a year now. Hillary's health, physical, and maybe even mental, is questionable. Donald Trump implied over the weekend, and you may have the clip, that she's mentally and physically unstable, to be polite about it.
Well, let's play that clip now, because he was referring to comments she made. She was asked about the ongoing email controversy, and she continues to make it a controversy because the FBI decided not to indict her, at least not with charges, but verbally. FBI Director James Comey called her reckless. He verbally indicted her and her behavior. She keeps going out and saying, well, the FBI said I was truthful. She's lied about it. So she's asked about it, and she said she had a short circuit. You know, she kind of forgot. She was all messed up in terms of what she was talking about. And that's what Donald Trump seized on. So let's play that clip.
It was in front of some friendly reporters. They asked her a very easy question, and she short-circuited. She used the term, short-circuited. She took a little short circuit in the brain, and she's got problems. I mean, if we had real people, this would be a real problem for her. But I think that the people of this country don't want somebody that's going to short-circuit up here. Okay? Not as your president. Not as your president.
Now, Ray, I think that that's a valid criticism, whether it's coming from Donald Trump or anybody else. Do Americans want a president that's going to short-circuit, in Hillary Clinton's own words, or have trouble walking upstairs, or have unexplainable, inexplicable coughing fits?
And minor mini seizures on camera. I think these are legitimate questions, but there's a huge problem. The problem is with the American media. Except for Drudge and right-wing media, and it's not followed up by most, quote, mainstream right-wing media, this is not a story. Anything Donald Trump does or says is a huge story, always critically deconstructed and analyzed. So the American media, I think, has a responsibility when a presidential candidate who claims to be fit emotionally and physically cannot walk up the stairs someone has to find out what the problem is, because you don't want to elect someone president. And don't forget, Brian, most presidents, if they're not assassinated or die in office, serve 8 years, 2 4-year terms. So by the time, if Hillary wins, by the time she's finished, and if she survives 2 terms, she'd be nearly 80. So it's a legitimate issue. It is not being addressed by the New York Times, the Washington Post, even the Wall Street Journal, or the American networks, starting with what I call the Clinton News Network, CNN. They're giving her a free ride.
Yeah, I think that, look, this picture is widely available. It's had some coverage, but not nearly enough. When it's photos taken by Reuters and Getty, these are wire services that most of the major news outlets have at least some access to. So they're able to show. Instead, it's mostly being spread around on Twitter with the Reuters stamp across it. And why was she having trouble walking up the stairs? What was this about? I'm sure they're going to try and explain it away, but I think it leads to greater questions about her health. And I'm wondering when she's going to go see that doctor, that government doctor, that I believe it's normally someone from a military medical center, to say, yep, clean bill of health, you're good to go.
Yes, that should be done. And I think it's even more serious. On Twitter, there's a lot of speculation, and I want to say that word again. This is speculation only, but it may be justified. Why does Hillary usually wear a long coat, which I've said often looks like a carpet? Why does she wear a long coat, and why does she wear such baggy pantsuits? And that could be to conceal adult diapers. She may have a problem there. She has to have a reason for dressing that way.
It could have been all kinds of medical. If it's a medical issue, Ray, there could be all kinds of things beyond adult diapers. I remember interviewing Dick Cheney several years ago after he left office as vice president, and he had his suits specially made to hold all his different heart devices that kept him going. So it's a valid question to speculate. I'm not sure I'd immediately go to adult diapers.
And don't forget, Brian, I'm not a neurosurgeon, although my brother-in-law is. These disabilities we've seen, the coughing fits, the falling down the stairs, having to be helped up the stairs, they could be related to brain problems. There's often a connection between physical, like people who shake, and that's an indication of brain problems. Her hands have been shaking too. But if I can switch issues just a little bit back to my main theme, which is media irresponsibility, you will recall, Brian, that a Pakistani-American father of an American officer who was a Muslim, who was killed in the war against terrorism, made a huge speech at Hillary's convention.
Yep.
And that went viral, although a white American mother whose son was killed in the Benghazi terrorist attack blamed Hillary Clinton for it. Well, that was not news in the mainstream media.
Ray, I'll just give you a quick stat on this because I did a piece last week on the media bias about it, and it was 70 seconds just on the main networks, not counting CNN, Fox, MSNBC. On the main networks, Patricia Smith got 70 seconds of airtime. Kaiser Khan got 55 minutes. That was in the 4 days after each of them spoke. The 4 days after the RNC speech by Smith, the 4 days after Khan's speech. And, he's given a lot of time. He's not questioned hard. And it turns out his law firm used to do a lot of work for Hillary Clinton's foundation. Is that being talked about everywhere?
That is a big story. Again, and I tweeted that, I picked it up, and people said, find your source. There is a source for it. It's a site called, I think, Anonymous. But that's a very serious allegation. If the Clinton Foundation, which, by the way, is corrupt and sponsored in terms of tens of millions of dollars by Saudi Arabia, which is an Islamo-fascist dictatorship. They bankroll or help to bankroll the Clinton Foundation. Now, I've only seen one major piece, and it was last week in American Spectator, I think, looking at the financial records of the Clinton Foundation. And it seems to me, from all I've read about it, that the Clinton Foundation is a scam. It's a bucket shop for laundering money to the Clinton political machine from the foundation. So if the New York Times wanted to win another Pulitzer Prize, or the Washington Post, which, by the way, is vastly improved over the New York Times, they would get a team of reporters to look into the financial manipulations of the Clinton Foundation.
All kinds of stories in there about uranium supplies and deals with Russia and so on. You're right. If they wanted to investigate, they could. A lot of the work's been done for them already in Clinton Cash. There was some media coverage of that when the book came out, but not enough. But a great book. Good talking, Ray.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Unfortunately, the idea of media bias isn't going away anytime soon, but always good talking to you about it.
One quick footnote. 3 of the 4 bestsellers on the New York Times bestseller list are takeouts on Hillary Clinton.
I think the people are hungry for something more than what they're getting in the mainstream media. Talk soon, Ray.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.